YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with my college football playoff predictions. I'm going to give you my score prediction on LSU versus Oklahoma and Ohio State Clemson, and then we'll take my two winners, and I'll give you a score prediction on my college football playoff national championship game. We'll see who I have winning. I'll also take a look at the lines of the semifinal games, see if they're worth putting money on. I did the same exact video for all the bowl games. I predicted scores, and we took a look at the lines to see how they match up there. So if you haven't seen that video, it's an interesting one. Go check it out. Also have a video coming in the near future kind of summing up my favorite games in terms of spread picks throughout bowl and playoff season here. We also have NFL content, so if you haven't seen any of that, go check it out. 40K, that's our subscriber goal by the end of the year. Please help us out by subscribing. Like I said, college football content, NFL content, even the offseason free agency, NFL draft coverage. Click that like button. Check us out on Twitter at GoatHouseNFL. There's a link in the description. Always talking during live games, and we'll continue to do that. Extra content on the Patreon. We got mock drafts updated every single week with the updated order, updated prospects on the Patreon. If you sign up for that, you also get NFL playoff predictions and score predictions every single week, and there's much more on there. But to the first game, no surprise here. I have LSU winning the Peach Bowl, 1-4, the semifinal of the college football playoff. I have LSU winning 48-24, so actually a pretty good win there by 24 points. LSU is minus 12.5. That means they're favored by 12.5 points. So I have them covering that, almost doubling that in terms of the line there. And yeah, I like LSU a lot here. Peach Bowl. It's in Georgia. It's at the Falcon Stadium, just where the LSU Tigers just beat up on the Georgia Bulldogs in the SEC Championship. Same exact site. So maybe that helps LSU a little bit. Not a whole bunch in terms of advantage on where it's at. I think the fan bases will be pretty much split, maybe a little more LSU fans. But LSU, to me, is plain and simple the better team. Better offensively. Oklahoma's supposed to be that offensive team, and they are. They are the offensive team. But when your opponent is a better offensive team, right, which is rare right off the bat, it's not the best matchup there. And then defensively, even though people have been hating on LSU's defense, I think they've been pretty solid. A lot of the points they've given up has been garbage time because they pretty much end games in the first or second quarter. So that's kind of what happens in football. And it's gotten better. And they have playmakers. Chason is a first-round draft pick prospect. He's a freak athlete, freak getting after the quarterback. And then you got, obviously, maybe the best corner duo in football there with Stingley and Fulton and Grant Delpit, possibly the best safety in football. I mean, they got playmakers everywhere. They'll give up some yards, but they got playmakers. I still think Oklahoma, 24 points is a good amount. But yeah, I think pressure's actually been a problem for Oklahoma. People look at the difference between Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts. I mean, there is a difference in talent level. But what people don't talk about is a difference in offensive lines. Best offensive line in football last year. Lost a lot of guys with the draft, guys that are, good in the NFL too right now. So they took a hit there. Still a decent offensive line, but I think that'll help LSU. I think that'll help them. Their DBs, it'll help guys like Chason. It will get after Hurts. We've seen Hurts put the ball on the floor or turn the ball over when he's being pressured. So he's going to have to be lights out in this game. I just don't see any way they can keep up scoring, really, with their defense going against Joe Burrow and that LSU offense that is full with playmakers. Joe Burrow gets all the credit, and he deserves a lot of credit. He is going to be the Heisman winner. He is going to be the first overall pick, but guys like Hilaire, guys like Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, these guys are going to be in the NFL as well. They're in the offensive line. The play calling has been great. So yeah, I love Kenneth Murray on the Oklahoma side, defensive side. Love him. I think he's another first-round prospect. He is, today's linebacker. That linebacker you want today, rangy, athletic, can play outside, inside linebacker, could blitz, rush the edge. He could be a factor because Joe Burrow hasn't been under an extreme amount of pressure this year. He did play pretty well, I guess, under pressure against Alabama, but maybe Oklahoma could get unique with maybe a Kenneth Murray there and try to force something. But I don't see it. LSU's got them beat on offense. They got them beat on defense, and here in Georgia in the Peach Bowl, I think the favorites get it done. Another thing, Oklahoma has not played LSU yet, and that's obvious, but they haven't played a team anywhere near what LSU is. They haven't had that challenge yet. Every team they've played, they've been the better offensive team, and some teams they played, they've been a better defense, really. Impressive wins against Baylor. games they really should win. And they made them interesting too. So LSU is just a whole different challenge, and I like the Tigers winning by 24. And something else I'll add here. Don't mean to pile it on for the Oklahoma fans, but I think LSU could shut things down early. I really think. I think if this was the national championship game, I think they really can get into the 50s. I think they really could. So playing a week after this in the national championship game against who would be Clemson or Ohio State, I think they could think ahead. So I like LSU in this Peach Bowl, obviously. We're moving on to the other game, the game I'm looking forward to the most. It's going to be a good one. And I actually have the Clemson Tigers coming out on top. I got a 1-point win here. The PlayStation Fiesta Bowl will be in Arizona. So no, I don't think any advantage there. I think pretty split with the fan bases, I'd imagine. Clemson's -2. Not super surprised, but I thought maybe it would be closer to even. For that, there are people out there that say Ohio State is the most complete and best team in college football. I've even heard some people say this is one of the better college football teams of all time, and that's pretty crazy since they're number 2. That shows how good LSU and Ohio State have been this year, really. So very impressive. I got to go with the Tigers on this one. It's a mixture of things here. Even though it's a toss-up, as you can see, I got a 1-point win, but. Looking at these two teams, what they've done down the stretch, Clemson Tigers, they have been improving, and that's no secret. No, I don't care who they've played. It is very obvious, very clear that they have been improving on both sides of the ball. I'd say mainly offense down the stretch. They've been a good defense the whole way. Ohio State, I can't sit here and say they have improved kind of down the stretch in crunch time. I'm not saying they got worse, but at all. Very good team, elite team, but I can't say that they've gotten better. So that's kind of, the Wisconsin game kind of sticks with me a little bit. I know it's the second time playing a team. That's kind of tough, but it's a game, they win 38-7, and they struggle a little bit. Great comeback. And a team like Clemson, somewhat similar to Wisconsin, looking on the defense side of the ball, I think Clemson's the better defense. You look at their defense, it's pretty similar because they're, I guess, top tier. Clemson, I think, better. Offense, it's not even close. Clemson is light years better than Wisconsin on offense. So it's a similar type challenge in terms of the defense, but it presents definitely a new challenge. I think Clemson could really. We saw Wisconsin start to get some pressure, unlike the first time, get some pass rush abilities there. I think Clemson will figure out a way to do that as well. And I think this is going to go back and forth between, early it's going to look like, I think Ohio State starts strong early in this game. Clemson, a little slow start, kind of my feeling here. But I think we're going to have like mixed feelings throughout this game. Okay, this is going to be an offensive game. It's going to be a shootout. All right, no one's scoring in this quarter. It's a defensive game. I think it's going to be back and forth, which results in the 28-27 kind of middle of the pack there for college football. But yeah, I think Ohio State really hasn't seen, even though they have a bunch of top 25 wins, kind of the middle of the pack, top 25 Big Ten teams, they haven't seen Clemson. They definitely haven't seen this offense here. They've seen similar defenses. They have not seen this offense, which it's playoff time. Everyone doubts the Clemson Tigers in playoff time. They beat up on the ACC in the regular season. Now it's time. I love the mentality over there, which all these teams have the mentality, but Dabo Swinney congratulating this team to be the first team to go undefeated and get third place. The team's pissed off. It's pissed off. This is their time. It's one of those teams where it's hard to game plan against. You don't really have much on them. They kind of change things up against other ACC teams that they have no problem on. They don't really give you a firm identity, and that's what changes things going into playoff time. So I got the Tigers. I think Ohio State will start pretty well. I think they'll have the lead early, and then Clemson, nothing ridiculous, not like a comeback or anything, but I think maybe Ohio State can score on the first possession of the game if they get the ball. 7-0. It could be a 7-3, maybe end of the first quarter, then Clemson can start going, or 7-7, possibly end of the first quarter. 10-7, whatever it may be. I think Ohio State could be winning at half. Clemson really busts out. I think the offense improves throughout the game. They are -2 in this game. Yeah, I thought it would be a little closer to even, but this should be a good game. Chase Young getting after Trevor Lawrence, that's going to be a battle to look out. Justin Fields, looked like he was playing a little hurt. Not getting outside the pocket last game. They were getting some. That doesn't change that Wisconsin got some good pressure. Clemson will do the same thing. They got playmakers. Isaiah Simmons is a guy to look out for Clemson. A potential top 10 pick in the NFL draft. He is a weapon, whether it's covering downfield or whether it's blitzing after the quarterback, but he's also a run stuffer as well. So that could be the factor. That could kind of be the weapon to get after Justin Fields there. This should be a heck of a game. Really looking forward to it. There really is a question of how is Clemson going to be outside of the ACC. Not much of a challenge this year, maybe besides early, but new challenges for both teams here. I'm taking Clemson, but it's going to be a real good game. And then my national championship game is going to be between, obviously, Clemson and LSU. I have LSU winning this one, number 1 over number 3, 31-27. So we see somewhat of a similar scoreline there. I think this is a similar matchup for LSU to Georgia, but it's a better version with a much better offense. So that could make things interesting, but I just don't think LSU's offense will be able to, I guess 31 points is slowed down a little bit because you're playing maybe the second best team or the third best team in the country in Clemson, but it's still enough to win the game, in my opinion. I do maybe worry a little bit about LSU's defense. Like I said, I think people are overreacting throughout the year on that. I think it's a lot of garbage time points. I think it's been improving. So I do worry about what type of, if Trevor Lawrence from last year, shows up, which is starting to come out again. This could be more of a shootout. Clemson really can pile on the points. So it would not surprise me if the Clemson Tigers were the national championship at this time. When it actually happens, it would not surprise me. This is their time of year. It's impossible for me to go against LSU right now. It's so hard. They've been the best team. I think clearly the most dominant team all year. They've had every type of challenge. Looking at them playing Georgia, Florida, Auburn, Alabama, like every type of challenge, and they've done very well in that game. They've improved on both sides of the ball throughout the year. Clemson's improved too. Clemson's got to get through Ohio State first. LSU should definitely be in this game. So I really do like LSU over Clemson here, but it would be one heck of a game. It would be a one heck of a game against Ohio State too. If they played Ohio State, that Chase Young factor, changes things up a little bit because LSU hasn't seen, Joe Burrow hasn't seen too much pressure all year. When he's under pressure, he has been good, but Chase Young is a different type. It's a different level of pressure. A freak pass rusher, going to be a top 2 pick in the NFL draft. So that actually could make things interesting. It would be somewhat of a similar matchup, but it presents, that Chase Young factor there a bit. But like I said, the guy in Clemson, Isaiah Simmons is kind of the factor. They got other pieces here and there too that can get after the quarterback, but Simmons brings another element to the game because when you're game planning for against that defense, I think the focus is on Simmons. Like, what is this kind of guy going to be doing? Is there any hints that he's given us on film? That is he going to be in coverage? Is he going to be a spy? Is he pass rushing? Is he blitzing? What gap is he blitzing in? So I think he is the key. I think he's a bigger factor than people realize. And they obviously have they have got talent all over the place. Hard to go against LSU at the moment. That's kind of been my feeling all year, so I'm going to stick with it. They have an easier first round opponent. I think that does matter a little bit. But I like LSU. Clemson, definitely people sleeping on them a little bit just because who they played this year and just because of a game against North Carolina that was very close, which if they did lose that game, things would be different, but they won the game early in the year. Clemson always turns it around at this time. This is their time. And last year, we were confident they were going to beat Notre Dame, but that they just dominated that game completely. And then against Alabama, people were kind of split, and they dominated that game almost the same way the week before, maybe a little less defense, but just dominant all the way through. Clearly the best team. It could happen again this year. I don't think as dominant wins, but we didn't think that last year either. So can't really sleep on Clemson too much there, but can't sleep on Ohio State either because they got the factor on both sides of the ball. We'll see how. Just always curious to see how SEC does, outside the SEC, playing a ACC or Big Ten team. Same thing. How's Clemson do playing way more of a talented team or teams that they've played in the regular season? And same thing, it's always tough. The Big Ten's always the toughest one to tell how they outside because they have, kind of the weaker non-conference and they play each other and it's a beat up on each other, except Ohio State dominates. How are they against, ACC or the SEC? So it's always interesting to see. But these are my predictions. Let me know your guys' thoughts. Again, same video on all the bowl games. That's a very interesting one. More detail, throughout more games, obviously. So let me know your guys' thoughts. Go check that out. Plenty more to come. A lot of NFL content as well. We got you covered even in the off season. It's always football season here. So please subscribe. Help us reach that 40K goal. Thank you for watching. That's going to do it. Goodbye.